Hello, I am TheSqueakyMoose, and today I have a match between BWGx and Ulforce Digimon. The Greymon player starts with a Koromon in Racing, then Digivolves into Promo Agumon. They end their turn by playing the Black Searcher Agumon. And they choose to take the Black Greymon that gives the blocker inheritable. Now this is a difficult matchup for the Ulforce player, but we'll see what they can do. They start with the Wanyamon Egg and Digivolve into Gabumon, then the starter Vidramon. They'll pass turn by playing Davis, grabbing Aero Vidramon with the effect. This matchup does feel like a race to your perfect stack. So far it feels like the Ulforce player is closer to that goal. Agumon Digivolves into Agumon X, and the Greymon player chooses to take X-antibody and the Metal Greymon X, so potentially already has a level 6 in hand. He's also kept the Agumon in Raising, probably anticipating the Ulforce could come out next turn and bounce something to hand. Agumon Digivolves into the Greymon with the blocker inheritable. Agumon X swings at security for one check, revealing V-Tamer tie, which sets in the battle area, giving the Ulforce player an even stronger board setup. The Greymon player chooses to simply pass. Staying in Raising, Vidramon Digivolves into Aero Vidramon. The new Searching Vmon is played, which can grab a Tamer and one Digimon with Vidramon in its name. They do manage to get the new Rena and a Vidramon, which is pretty good. This passes back to the Greymon player with 3 memory, so we might see a big turn from them. They start by swinging at security with Agumon X, revealing a Vidramon, so it is deleted. This early aggression from the Greymon player is really good because it leaves the Ulforce player with only 3 security, which disappears pretty quickly once the Greymon player does get into Black War Greymon X. To end their turn, they Digivolve into Metal Greymon, then Davis sets the memory to 3 on the Ulforce player's turn. The Ulforce player is going to make the first move. He brings Aero Vidramon out of Raising. Suspends tie to draw 1, which could mean he's still looking for Ulforce to go into. This could have been a very risky play if he doesn't have the Ulforce in hand. Aero Vidramon is vulnerable to Hades Force and Gaomon and even Black War Greymon X. Plays another Vmon to search, and there we see it. We see 2 Ulforces, so he was digging for quite a while. He did this very smartly as well, because if he went and tried to use the main effect from Aero Vidramon, he would have just whiffed those both to the bottom of the deck. Now he uses the effect, and he can grab a Davis from it. So the choice to wait was definitely the right one. With Aero Vidramon now suspended, he can go into Ulforce, play a Tamer, unsuspend, gain a lot of memory, and potentially keep his turn going. Don't think it's quite enough though. He does choose to play Rena, which is a great choice because that will gain him an additional memory, which leaves the Greymon player with only 3 memory to start their turn rather than 4. The Greymon player is going to move out, which does signal that he has something to go into this turn. He Digivolves for 1 into Metal Greymon X-antibody. It's when Digivolving effect will prevent him from being de-Digivolved or having his DP reduced for the turn, which doesn't matter in this matchup. What does matter is that he gets to delete a Vmon off the board. He's going to play X-antibody, which will allow him to swing and then Digivolve into one of his boss monsters. The question is, which one does he have? And we actually see a Hades Force, which is only going to cost him 5 because he has a Greymon out, and it will allow him to delete 2 of the Tamers and 1 of the Digimon, and then do an attack. And with that, he can then Digivolve using the X-antibody effect into one of the boss monsters, even though his memory is already passed into his opponent's side of the gauge. And just like that, we see Black War Greymon X-antibody crash into the field. Will only do 1 check, but it's at 16,000 because of his inheritables, so the only thing he has to worry about is any option cards, which are very limited in the Ulforce deck. The only problem with the Blackwall Greymon stack is that it is missing the Greymon that gives the inheritable to stop it from being bounced to hand or deck. So there's a misplay right here, but the timing is a bit tricky. Ulforce shouldn't have blocker evade to be able to dodge the deletion effect from Blackwall Grey X, because Rena was played during the opponent's turn, even though memory had passed over to the Ulforce player's side, which means at the start of the Ulforce player's turn, it loses blocker evade. Blackwall Greymon reboots, trashes the top card of security with its effect, and then tries to delete Ulforce, which if we are correct means it should have been able to, but in this case, it evades and the game continues. The Ulforce player has a lot of memory to work with, and he starts just by setting up another Digimon and raising, going into the Vmon, and then playing V-Tamer tie, which will unsuspend Ulforce. Because Ulforce unsuspended, Rena will gain 1 memory, and then Ulforce is able to bounce 1 Digimon back to the owner's hand. Because he has 3 Tamers in play, he can actually bounce to level 6. Because Greymon does not have the inheritable to be able to prevent that, he is gone. He's going to suspend the V-Tamer tie so that he can give Ulforce plus 1000 DP just to make it a bit safer to swing in. Now Ulforce is only going to be doing 1 check, but he doesn't care. He's got Tamers that'll unsuspend him, and then he'll swing again, and then unsuspend, and then swing again, and I suspect with all the memory, that's what's going to happen. He's going to suspend Rena to activate the when digivolving effect of Ulforce, which will then play Arena, which will then gain him a memory, unsuspend Ulforce, and give him blocker evade, just in case he hits anything nasty in security. But he only hits Yuya, so he just goes and does it again. Suspends Rena, plays Arena, unsuspends Ulforce, gains a memory, gets blocker evade again. Really, the only thing that the Greymon player is holding out for is them just running out of Tamers to be able to keep doing this. But he plays a Davis, get the unsuspend again, and he's at 9 memory, so it really doesn't seem likely. Because he can just drop another Searcher and then get another Tamer and then play that, all whilst keeping it in his turn. He plays another tie. Going to suspend it to give more DP. Ulforce unsuspends. He swings in for the last check, and it's nothing that can stop him. He hard plays the Sora and Joe, and he's going to swing for game. That's it. We go to game 2. Game 2, we're going to be seeing the Greymon player going first, and he starts us off with Koromon in raising, immediately dropping Agumon X and does a search. Pretty clear choice on this one. It's what he was missing from last game. He grabs the Greymon X. It's interesting to note that he doesn't have another level 3 to just go on the egg and raising. The Ulforce player hatches, and then plays a Rena, so he might be in the same situation without a rookie. He does manage to get the Vidramon with Rena's effect, so he has a level 4 if he needs to hard play something. But he does have the level 3, so he can start building up a stack. It's a much safer option. Finishes up his turn by playing the Vmon, and does a search, grabbing the Rena, and another Vidramon. The Greymon player is paying 2 to Digivolve into the Greymon with a blocker inheritable, so he's still missing a level 3. And then he goes immediately into the Greymon x-antibody, so he's set up that base quite well, but it is still vulnerable if the Ulforce player can build up quickly. This Greymon does reduce the Digievolution into Metal Greymon, and it does allow him to delete the Vmon, so the board's a little bit worse for the Ulforce player at this point. Digivolve into Vidramon, and with no memory left to work with, I suspect we'll see an Aero Vidramon or maybe another Tamer. Instead, he plays another Vmon, so he's still looking for some pieces. But he can get the Aero and he can get Arena, so that's quite good. He does have to bottom deck an Ulforce though, so maybe he's already got one in hand. Metal Greymon digivolves into Metal Greymon x-antibody for 1. His effect again lets him delete the Vmon, so just removing more pieces off the Ulforce player's board, really keeping them back. Going to play X-antibody, so I suspect we'll see an attack and a Digivolve like we did previously. I think Gaomon would be a good choice here, but we'll likely just see the Blackwall Greymon X again. He does go into the Blackwall Greymon X antibody, so he does one check, and when he unsuspends, he is going to trash a security. So when he trashes, might be the right choice to go for this option, since he's not going to be playing out any of those tamers. And there we go, just a tamer straight to the trash. I'm going to Digivolve in Raising, which is probably smart because we need a few more things out on the Ulforce side to be able to deal with this Digimon. It's just so oppressive. Davis is going to make sure that the next turn starts at 3 memory, unless a Hades Force comes out and just kind of wipes the board again. Finally, the egg is Digivolved into Agumon X, and with 4 memory we might actually see some Omnimon plays, see if we can trash some more security, do a couple of checks, but all depends on if they've got the pieces in hand. That Agumon now Digivolves into Greymon with the Sec +1. And we see a swing at security, just 1 check, and it sets Arena. This does mean the Ulforce player has everything that they need to be able to bounce that Greymon to hand, but with the protection from the X-antibody option, I don't see them breaking through this. That search goes past a Hades Forge, which would have been really nice in this situation. Just clear their board and make sure that they can't do anything next turn. They do grab 2 things, so it's still quite a beneficial search there. Blackwall Greymon X is going to unsuspend and trash the top card of security. And that option card might actually be exactly what was needed. If he had it in hand, he could trash all the sources, which would mean that he's able to actually bounce that Greymon with Ulforce's effect. Aerovigimon's going to search for some tamers off the top, but we don't see any. Aerovigimon does Digivolve into Ulforce. And he chooses to play out Arena with its effect, which will unsuspend him, and will gain him 1 memory from the Inheritable and then 2 memory from the Arena, so it stays his turn. The Blackwall Greymon X is going to be able to prevent itself from being bounced, so he chooses to bounce the Agumon instead. The BT2 Arena is going to be able to buff up his DP, so he can actually contend with the Blackwall Greymon X in that regard. If he chooses to redirect or block, they'll trade. When attacking, he'll draw 1 from the Egg Inheritable, and then from the Gabumon effect, looks at the top 3 to grab any of the Tamers, but doesn't get any. He suspends the Arena to buff Ulforce's DP by 1000, and then suspends the other Arena to activate Ulforce's when Digivolving effect to play another Arena, which will unsuspend Ulforce and then gain him another memory from Arena's effect. He's then going to play Heart Attack, which is the option we saw before. Completely strip Greymon of his sources, except for the X-antibody option, which cannot be trashed. Which means Blackwall Greymon is still able to redirect into itself. He's going to use the Aero Inheritable to use Arena's effect and do a bit of searching, grabbing another Ulforce. He then suspends Rena to play another Tamer with Ulforce's ability. He's going to play V-Tamer Tai, which will unsuspend Ulforce. He clears another security and suspends Tai so that he can draw a card. Goes for the 3rd attack of the turn, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play any more Tamers. He might not have any in hand. The Blackwall Grey player's had enough though. He redirects the attack into Blackwall Grey X, and they trade. No Digimon left on the board, he plays a Siyakomon. And And the effect of this is going to be very useful in this matchup if he tries to go into another Greymon X and reduce the Digi-Evolution. We see him play out the Agumon Searcher, so he's going to grab a Greymon X now. And with two bodies on the board, looks like the Ulforce player is going to need to react before he loses the game next turn. Greymon X digivolves into Metal Greymon and deletes the Syakomon. This does leave the Ulforce player with full memory, but that might not be enough to do anything. They'll hatch an egg to start, and digivolve into Vmon. Vmon digivolves into Veedramon for 2. And he might have a way out here with Ice Wall, but it all relies on leaving the Greymon player at 1, and he can't. Digivolves into Aero Veedramon for 3, leaving his opponent at 2. The Greymon player is just going to swing with Metal Greymon for 1 check, and then he'll be able to swing in with Agumon, and that's game. Unfortunately, we don't have the game 3. We do know that the Ulforce player did end up going to win it. There was that misplay in game 1 though, so take it as you will. Come back for more later. See you then.